Now that I'd cut the stage down to size and bolted it all down, I had my foundation. I could bolt my add-ons to it later as well as accessories. Using other sections of the stage, it was now time to start on my solar panels. Certain sections had big heavy duty 90-degree angles which were perfect for the main supports. The plan was to bolt both panels together and then have them lifting up on two supports. With this bottom section bolted to the roof, the panels will then sit on the larger section, tilt upwards, but then also tilt the other way. I've never took on a project like this before. It was a lot of trial and error. I'd mock up certain sections and then have a sit back and just ponder for 10-15 minutes. Make sure everything was going right. I didn't want to mess it up, especially seeing as I was doing more riveting in the roof. It's something I'm still not fully confident with, but taking my time and using plenty of sealant would avoid leaks. What did become apparent was that the 150 panel that I'd not long just bought wasn't going to work in this setup, so I had to go ahead and buy a smaller panel to fit either side of the skylight, and then make the decision whether to fit the 150 as well, losing some deck space, or just sell it. That's about it for today. Until the other 100-watt solar panel arrives, I don't really want to go and put the other bracket on in case I get it in the wrong place. So I'm calling it a night. While I was waiting for the other panel to arrive, I got started on other bits like the supports for the new decking. Place that down because eventually there will be decking boards going in, and obviously they're going to go full span, have a brace in the middle of the roof, but go all the way over to here. Around here needs to be a good gap, so they'll only be coming to around here, so that'll allow them to finish on something solid. I could have gone all the way back here, but that would have just created water build up in here, so I've just used this offcut with this bit open so water can still drain through. But I've still got something to screw my battens to. Plan's slightly changed a little bit. Managed to wangle it a slightly different way, so I've got two on each panel, so as opposed to them being joined together now and they're both coming up on two hinges, I've now got four and they're going up separate. Makes them a lot stronger and a lot more easy to kind of manoeuvre. With the new panel here I could crack on. Not gonna lie though, it felt pretty weird unwrapping a brand new solar panel and then drilling a shit ton of holes in it. This job was much harder than it looked, not only because I was on the roof and the van was wobbling, but each bracket had to be measured and put on perfectly. I had to get the right amount of PU underneath the brackets and into the holes. The rivnets had to be in the perfect position, the holes in the brackets had to be drilled perfectly, not too big so that water could get through them, and not too small that the bolts wouldn't get through or risk cross-threading in the rivnet. In all honesty, putting all 4 brackets on took most of the day, and that day was riddled with swear words. But eventually I got onto the last one of 4, and with all the practice I'd had on the other 3, this one actually went on pretty smooth. Yeah, did I say smoothly? That was until I dropped a bolt and spent half an hour trying to dig it out. However, this was the day when we received the bad news. The news that we'd been reported to the council by some scumbag and had to leave our lockdown camp, despite lockdown not actually being over. But if you've been watching the videos, you'll know that story anyway. If not, there'll be a link at the end. I did manage to get the 2 front solar panels strapped down, but as you can imagine, I just wasn't in the mood to stick a camera up and pretend to put a smiley face on while we're all in such a downtrodden mood. The rest of the roof got strapped down temporarily, and that's basically how it remained for 2 weeks while I faced the real world in lockdown. It really wasn't pleasant, but I'll be covering that in probably the next video. But we fast forward to my 2 lovely friends, Tim and Julie, who offered to put me up for the remainder of lockdown on their land. So finally I could start work on the roof again. All that was left to do fabrication wise was to make a few more supports for the upcoming deck and some multi-purpose fold out legs that would hold the panels in place no matter which way they were facing. So these I'm hoping are going to be on the bottom of the far end of the solar panels. They're going to flip up, and when I want to tilt them towards the rear of the van, they'll rest on top of the pod, and if I want them to face the other way, the solars will lift up. These will come out a little bit, that will fold and connect onto a bolt that's on the main support, and that will mean the panel can either tilt that way or tilt that way. Hopefully. I'm just kind of winging it, I don't really know. I don't know if it's going to work. again, this stage material, literally this is the last bracket I've got now at the whole set that allows it to fold over on itself like that. It's the very last one, and it's the last one I need. This stage was provided well. Once all the pot rivets were drilled out and the hinge was freed, I could attach it to the new leg that I've just cut and start fixing it to the panels. The weather had made a turn for the better. In fact, it was absolutely scorching. Luckily the fridge was on full whack and I had some ice cold ciders which I totally utilised. Absolutely nailing it here. Got a cider on the go, nice weather, parked somewhere safe, and building random shit. You can't beat it. Kind of hard to see from down here, but at this point I'm just marking out all the points where there needs to be fixing bolts so that the panel has different points in which to lock and have different angles to point at the sun. You warm, buddy? Hey. Oh, I've been neglecting you a bit today, innit? Come on. Let's go have a swim. Come on. With a nice bit of R&R with Lance done and him nice and cooled off, I cracked open a few more ciders and cracked back on in the gorgeous weather. Now you may be looking at the panel and thinking, why the hell have I put it so far up into the air? Well, in reality the panels will only really be at a couple of degrees, just to kind of clear the slap head or any obstructions that might be near. But the fact of the matter is I live in this van and I take it some weird places, so through the winter, or if I'm at the top of a mountain in the Alps or something like that, the panels really need all the help they can get. So putting them this high up means I can aim them at the sun pretty much all throughout the day, right until sunset, maximising the power output that I so desperately need because I sit all day and edit videos for you guys. Although people already turn around and avoid my van, now that these things will be stuck up in the air with the antenna, I dread to think what's going to go through people's minds. Next day all the guardrails come back down and ready for paint. I also took the old bolts out and threw them away as I bought some nice sturdier ones, and cleaned all the rib nuts out of silicone, ready for the PU sealant with the washers in order to fully watertight the roof. New bolts arrived, although I accidentally ordered half threaded, but they only need 2 washers on to make them alright, and then on the bottom there's be a rubber washer, so it will seal between the actual frame and the roof. That'll get a little dot on it, and they will go down, and that should seal everything up. The driver's side finished, it was just a copy and paste for the other side, and then it was done and back on. But then work kind of ground to a halt. Right, I'm back after nearly a week. As you can see from the big puddle there, the weather's been horrendous, and with that coupled with missing parts, it just kind of ground everything to a halt. But now I've got a load of MC4 connectors, so I'm going around doing all the connections and whatnot, feeding the wires down, making sure they're all nice and tight within the frame so they're not going to move around and potentially snag. And then behind the skylight it's all coming into this quite small junction box, which is going to be fun to wire up at the end. Yeah, all 3 will be wired up in series, which means they become essentially one giant panel, all fed and junctioned in here, and then down the 2 wires into the van. We're nearly there. But the first lick of paint on all the frames, so that needs going over again, and that'll be done. And then I've got the wood come in tomorrow to start doing the deck, and then I can do the 3rd panel later. The plan is basically to put MC4 connectors on here, so they'll go into the solar panel, but this panel will be removable, this one here. So all I'll essentially do is disconnect the 2 connectors, click them into each other, and that will then continue the loop with just the 2 panels. You can't disconnect when the panels are under load, so I've also got a cut off on the actual solar system so that I can disconnect these safely. So yeah, that is basically what's happening right now. So yeah, for now, until the panel is on, them 2 will just go together like that. Yeah, word of warning, don't do that if your panels are in parallel. Now it was just a case of feeding all the wires through on the other side and trailing everything as nice and neat as possible, so it was essentially hidden right up into the junction box and then into the van. Go, working.
half inch thick.